And we are live. So welcome back to another episode of the Blue Crocus Experience. I'm excited for this one. I've got Joseph Lambert in the house here today, and we're going to cover a wide range of topics. Joseph is a junk removal business owner, and I'm excited to chat about a lot of his story. But he's 20 years old, so we'll kind of let the cat out of the bag. And to preface, why I say that is you're going to hear some of what he's built as a company, and it'll be really neat to see. I'm excited to hear some of the struggles along the way. I've listened to a few of his videos to get some sense of it. But Joseph, welcome to the show. Just to kind of get started, I'd love it if you kind of set the stage for who you are, where you're located, and then roll into a little bit of your story, and we'll start off that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I got into this business about 2.5 years ago. So I started the business in high school. Just kind of worked all throughout high school and doing various things: construction, pressure washing, landscaping, hanging Christmas lights, really all of the above, anything anybody would pay me to do. And kind of stumbled into junk removal senior year because one of my landscaping clients asked us to clear out her house for her because she was downsizing and moving up to a northern part of the state. And we ended up making about $1,600 in 4 hours. So that was kind of the job that caught my attention and really made me want to look into the industry even more. And, really just was impressed with how simple and scalable the junk removal model is. So just kind of slowly, started to do more and more junk removal over the course of my senior year and kind of started to focus solely on that. In the meantime, I was playing football and baseball and working, and I really put school on the back burner. So I ended up failing a super easy class that I needed to graduate my senior year or last semester of senior year. So I didn't graduate when the rest of my class did. So instead of going to college, what would have been my first semester, my freshman year of college, I stayed home and had to take this one class to get my diploma. And it ended up being a huge blessing in disguise because I was able to run my junk business full time that whole month and or that whole semester, and ended up doing really, really, really well. And what it taught me was there's a real opportunity here. And though I was not opposed to going to college, I felt like, running the junk business was my best opportunity. So I ran the numbers, presented it to a couple people that I trusted, and they all, agreed this is a great opportunity. You should definitely chase after it. And if it doesn't work after another semester, you can always go back to college. So right now we're talking spring of 2020. So right before COVID hits, I'm going all in on this junk removal business. And right when COVID hits, my phone blew up because everybody went home. They were looking at all the stuff they didn't want. And, they were calling every junk company they could. So we went from me in a pickup truck to a couple months, into the year, we had 4 big U-Haul box trucks rented, just trying to keep up with the flow of leads that was coming in. So I learned a lot that year. I learned how to scale revenue, but I also learned that I wasn't doing it profitably. So we scaled so quickly from a revenue standpoint that it gave me confidence in the model and that the revenue was there. I knew I just had to learn how to be a better businessman and how to actually make that revenue profitable. So just in reference on how we scaled. So like January of 2020, we were doing about $15,000 a year. By April, we were doing $40,000, and by July, we were doing $60,000.
You 15 a month or a year?
What's that?
Per month or per year?
Yeah, per year. So $15,000 in January of 2020, $40,000 in April of 2020, and then $60,000 in July of 2020. So it was really rapid growth, and quite honestly, I didn't know how to manage it. So July of 2020, I kind of took a step back, looked at my business, and I was like, okay, there's clearly something here. This is something I need to stick with, but I need to tear this business back down and build it up profitably with a strong foundation. So we started returning all the U-Haul trucks. We cut our marketing budget a little bit. And then, I started riding around in the truck that I actually owned. And we started doing things like, building a great website, working with great Google Ads and other people.
All right, guys, we're going to pause. This is not for an advertisement break. This is for the fact that we had a little bit of a technical issue. Our live stream broke down, which is where we record everything. So we do it through a live stream, and then we record it and put it up on the podcast platforms as well. So the live stream broke down. We ended up having to come in for a take two about 10 minutes later. And so I'm just going to summarize where Joseph went, because he did end up saying a little bit more that didn't get captured in the audio. But basically 2020, they really started in on Google Ads, SEO, getting a website set up, all of that good stuff. They got branded trucks, started working on job efficiency, insurance, all of that. 2021, they were up to 6 trucks, and they tripled their revenue from 2020. So then they went on and built from there. And we do come back in just a second here with take 2, with that with us coming back on the recording. So I appreciate you guys. Go like and subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm going to take that opportunity to say it here, but I'm going to let you guys get right back into the show. So it's going to start right back and dive into it. And we are live again for take 2. So we had a little bit of an internet issue there, and we'll have spliced this together in the podcast if you're listening there. So that's what happened there. But Joseph had kind of just finished telling his story. And then it was actually perfect timing that the feed cut out, because he had an urgent call he had to attend to. And we're back. So you had you were talking about how you're excited about 2022 and all of that, but I did want to jump back into your story a little bit. And you said that when you got going, you got tons of leads coming through, you had a lot of revenue growth and all of that. How were you getting the leads coming through? Because obviously, from a marketing perspective, I'm talking to people who are hungry all the time, and they're looking for answers, right? So talk a little bit about, as you were growing, how you went from 15 to 30 to 60 over the course of a year in monthly revenue as you were getting going, and then we'll move into like where you're headed this year.
Yeah, I mean, we're big believers in that you got to spend money to make money, and we spent very, very aggressively on marketing. And even when the business, kind of went through ups and downs, we never turned off our marketing, and we never turned it down. We analyze our marketing, and if something's not working, we'll cut it back, but we never really take the foot off the gas when it comes to marketing. And I think that's really been probably one of the biggest factors in us being able to scale at the rate we have is we just really are very aggressive with marketing, and we don't shy away from putting a lot of money towards it. So really that was a key to success early on, and it's been a key to success since then. But our main source of leads is going to be Google. About 45% of all of our revenue comes from Google. When you say Google, is that ads or SEO, like organic? Yeah, all of it together. And then to break that down a little bit more, 1 out of 5 Google jobs come from SEO, and about 4 out of 5 will come from ads. And a lot of that's just because we're a newer company, so our website doesn't have the standing on Google that a lot of companies that have been there for years and years do. Hopefully we're going to see that number even out a little bit down the road. Nice. So we get about 45% from SEO, Google ads, and GMB. Then we get about 35% of our business from repeat clients. And we are intentional about taking really good care of them and keeping our name in front of them. Did you say 35? Just so I heard that correctly? Yeah, 35% of our business is from repeat business. Amazing. That's I just wanted everyone who's listening to hear that again, because I see a lot of people say, "Oh, repeat business. We're not in the repeat business in junk removal." We're definitely in the repeat business in junk removal. Repeat business is the most profitable business out there, because the beauty of repeat clients is they already trust you, so they're much less likely to haggle pricing. They're much less likely to cancel. They know who you are. That's why they're calling you back, and they've had some sort of good experience before. And also, you're not having to spend those marketing dollars on them to actually, acquisize that job. So yeah, every time they come back, it cuts your marketing spend per job in half, like for that particular job, right? Exactly. Yeah, it's beautiful. So I mean, we do a lot to really reach out to our repeat clients. We send out, 2 email campaigns a month. We send out a text campaign each month. We write a handwritten thank you card to every single client. We do follow-up calls after every job. So anything we can do to just absolutely blow their socks off with this whole junk removal experience to make sure they do call us back next time they have a need. So that's really huge. Repeat business is massive. That's awesome. So I know we're starting up here again.
for those who are watching live, please jump in and ask questions. I know there are several people in the group who are interested in picking your brain, Joseph, and I know you had put out the offer to jump on a call with anybody who wanted. So we'll put your link in the description on YouTube and the podcast when this goes live. But guys, now's a chance to ask. So make yourself known. Drop it in the comments, and we can actually bring the comments up on screen, and Joseph can take a look. So awesome. So marketing is big. You talked about like the retaining clients. That's huge. I love the handwritten stuff. We've done handwritten cards ourselves in our junk removal business, and there's just something. There's a connection there, as well as that extra touch. Anything to set yourself apart. I do want to talk about the crazy growth, and obviously it's not just you doing $60K a month. As you were growing. So how have you maneuvered that? Because you see a lot of people complaining about the job market. You see a lot of people complaining about, not finding anybody that's trustworthy and can do a good job. So let's dive into that topic, because I think there's a lot of people who are really excited about hearing about that.
Yeah. So much we can cover on that. First thing is, anytime there's a problem in your business anywhere, I would always look at the leader first. So anytime there's a problem in my business, I look at myself and ask myself, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to fix? Am I setting the kind of example that I want my guys to follow and become? So even when that comes to hiring, like, am I the kind of person that somebody would want to work under? Am I actually presenting the job in such a way where somebody would want this job? So that's kind of just where I would start. So for us, we do a 3-stage interview process. I wouldn't say it's incredibly rigorous, but it's not just come out here and jump on a truck. We have a virtual part of it. We have an in-person meeting, and then we have an actual truck day where we bring them out to actually work with us. So, anybody who's on our team, unless they've been here for a long time when we did interviews differently, they've been vetted pretty well. And typically, when you're intentional with the interview process, you're going to go through a lot of volume in the sense that there's going to be a lot of people who don't make it through, but the guys who do make it through are usually going to be quality guys. So it's one of those kind of scenarios where you just got to trust the process. And those good people, they really are out there. It's just a matter of finding them. And It's honestly just a matter of doing the hard work to cycle through a lot of guys. Just as an example, like in 2021, we cycled through 80 employees. You had employees that came on as employees, and the turnover was that high. Yeah. So, that 80 numbers, we had 80 people on payroll the whole year. So we ended the year with about 25. So it's not like all those left, but we really cycled through a lot of guys, especially in September, October. We had some guys go back to college that worked for us over the summer. So we got short and we kind of had to hire out of desperation. We cycled through a lot of guys, but by cycling through so many, we were really able to find some absolutely awesome dudes. So there's no easy way to do it. And if you're a great leader, if you're somebody that people want to follow and you're really intentional with the whole process, those people are out there. And if you treat them right, they'll do anything for you.
Yeah, that's something I've had a couple people on here who spoke specifically about hiring, and that is the recurring messages. You have to have the bandwidth to handle a lot of interviews or at least a lot of applications. Because if you just hire, your cousin's brother's uncle, odds are that, you're stuck with that one thing, and, it's kind of a toss up whether they're going to turn out well. So running through a ton of people in the application process widens your pool, and allows you to pick someone who's, a much better fit. How do you guys actually put out your applications? Is it just the general job boards? Are you advertising for positions? What are you doing there?
Yeah, totally. So a couple things. If we need to hire some people actively, we'll put something out on Indeed, but we always have the mentality that we're always looking for good people. If we find somebody who's really good, we will find a seat on the bus for them. So anytime anybody asks, I'm like, yeah, we're hiring. Come interview with us. And I've even done things, where we had good people, interview, and we truly didn't have a spot for them at that time. And I said, hey man, I really think you're awesome, and you have a position here, but I just can't give you that job for a month, or something along those lines. And, we've had great experiences. We've got a guy who just started about a week ago. He interviewed with us beginning of February, did great. I said, hey, you can start first week of March. And, it was worth it for him. So yeah, it's just about doing the hard work of actually getting it done. And as far as our interview process goes, one pro tip just to help with the person who's actually doing the hiring is anytime anybody inquires about a job, with our company, we send them a quick text, just introducing, I introduce myself as the owner, just say, hey, it's great to meet you. And then we ask them to answer 3 questions in a video. And the beauty of doing that is, you get to see how they answer the questions, how they present themselves is huge. Some guys may have a t-shirt on and they're just walking around their bedroom. Other guys will, have the camera set up nice with a collared shirt on. So that's an indicator right there. And then, how they answer the questions is also an indicator. But the beauty of that round is it's very easy for the person who's doing the hiring. And it tells a lot about the person. Like, is this somebody I'd actually want to pursue? Because you see, how do they prepare themselves? How do they speak? And what are their answers like? So love doing those video interviews.
I love it. That's a good tip, for that anybody can implement, really, and start to get an idea of just how the people hold themselves, how they, that interaction with the camera, although not a person. Junk removal is a very people-oriented business. It's a relationship business. As the last Joseph who was on the podcast was talking. We just had Joseph Martinez on the podcast last weekend, and they talked about how it was a relationship business. So once you hire the people, 25 people is a lot of people to manage. Are you what's your management process? How are you, helping them to grow into their role? How are you, helping everybody to kind of all head toward the same goals?
Yeah, totally. So one of the things I realized early on is I can't manage all 25 people. Really my max is I can truly manage and pour into about 5 people. And the goal is if I can do that with 5 people, then they can pour into the next 5 people. So what that looks like practically is, I'm real intentional with pouring into our team leaders, which are our senior guys on staff. They're the guys who've been with us for a while, who we really trust. So I pour into those guys a lot, and then they in turn will, pour into the guys who are on the trucks. So it can be overwhelming to think about pouring into that many guys, but I think the more that it's simplified, the easier it is.
So what does that look like when you say pouring into them? I've got my ideas of what that might look like, but for those listening, how does that play out in practical, day to day?
Yeah. So, I think it's, holding them accountable, to the standard that we've set here at JJR. I think it's taking time out of work to pour into them. So, I do one-on-ones with a lot of guys on our team. So usually we do a 10-week course or whatever where, we'll just meet for coffee before work once a week and go through a book together, just so we can interact more and just kind of, get better as people together, which also influences the job. But, I think just with those guys, I'm a lot more intentional with, my time with them and spending time with them and, helping them along the way. And, also just being vulnerable myself with them and being vulnerable when I mess up. And all that's to a much deeper level than it would be with, maybe one of the navigators on our crew.
Sure. I love that. So, you said over a 10-week period, if you're dealing with 5 people, that's 50 hours you've devoted over 10 weeks, if my math is correct, as far as like the coffee dates or going through like really putting like an hour into them.
Sorry, you were breaking up for a second there.
I was saying, if you've got 5 people that you're, kind of mentoring on your team and you're spending an hour a week for 10 weeks, that's 50 hours you've just devoted to really building up your team, right?
Yeah. And it's 100% worth it. I will tell you, I don't have 5 one-on-ones going at one time. My max is usually 2.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'll do 2. My goal is to develop 5 leaders each year. But it's throughout the course of the year, not all at once.
Gotcha.
So usually I'm doing 1 to 2 at a time. And that's why I just shortened it to 10 weeks. So, we do it and we, do another one with another guy. So that way it's a continuing process.
Beautiful. So you have to have something, you have to be growing yourself. What does that look like for you?
Absolutely.
For a lot of people, you're a pretty young business owner. We're not that far apart in age. But, to get the experience and to really help others develop, I find I have to always have someone or multiple people pouring into who I am and who I'm developing into. What does that look like for you?
Well, I think the first thing is asking really great questions and also being willing to learn from anybody. There are people that I learn a lot of stuff from, but I also feel like I can learn something from anybody, whether it be my 13-year-old sister, or a 75-year-old older lady, or anywhere in between.
Mm-hmm.
So having that mentality, I think, just opens the door for, learning in so many different areas. But kind of getting more specific, since high school, I've been taking guys out to lunch or breakfast or whenever they would meet that I just thought were successful, whether it be in life, in business, or in any facet of life. And I just learned a lot by doing that and just asking them questions. What's your story? How did you do this? All that kind of stuff. And, sometimes I would meet with, that guy just once. Sometimes we would meet 3 times. And, every now and then one of them turns into, really like a consistent mentor. So, I've had a mentor for the past year and a half who's been absolutely unbelievable. The guy comes from he's an executive. He was an executive at a senior living company, and then now he's an executive for an investment fund out of Houston. But dude who's had a lot of experience all over the business world, had a lot of experience in the service industry earlier on in his career. And just kind of the guy that, I look towards and be like, I want to be like him one day. And I try to chase guys down who, I look at them like that and just be like, hey, just can I learn from you? What is an hour of your time? When would that be available? So I think just doing that over and over and over and over again, being willing to learn, being willing to ask great questions. And, there's definitely a lot of fruit that comes from it.
I love it. Yeah, I'm a huge subscriber. That was one of the reasons I started this podcast, actually, was to have a platform to be able to take, an hour of someone's time and chat with them. Right. I'm learning stuff from you as we talk. So that's, I love that. What would you say has been the hardest thing to develop as a leader?
The hardest thing to develop
as a leader yourself, like in yourself?
Yeah, I think it's a personal accountability. I mean, it's real easy to write everything down on paper, how it should look. Going and doing it is infinitely harder. So, I mean, even like if I break down to like the minute things of like what time I wake up every morning, well, it's my goal to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning. And my alarm does go off at 5 a.m. every morning, but it's like, okay, well, did I hit the snooze button once or twice, or, what does that look like? And, some people are really great about not doing that. I think I fall somewhere a little bit in between. But I think, it always starts with, what's in here, what's in my heart. And constantly being disciplined every day it's hard. But I think it's a battle worth fighting.
100%. What does your ideal day look like?
Usually wake up around 5 a.m., out of bed about 5:10. I'm at my shop by about 6 a.m., assigning truck teams. Guys start rolling in between 6:15, 6:30. They clean out all the trucks. We do a morning meeting at 7:05. Then I'm in the office by about 8. And depends on, I kind of have 2 different kinds of days that I'm on dispatch, which is about 3 days a week, or my office days. So I'll have a lot of meetings and I'll just, crush all the emails. So depending on what day it is, those can look very different. If it's a meetings day, I could be all over the city, which is like today. If it's a dispatch day, then I'm just making sure everything runs really smoothly with the crews, answering calls and handling stuff with clients. So yeah, it's usually one of those 2.
Yeah. What when you say all over the city, are you like networking and growing the business, or what sort of meetings are you running into? I'm just trying to give people an idea of, because you have clearly been able to step away from some of the doing of the work, to be able to manage and keep all of this going. And that's a phase that I'm at in business currently. So it's of interest to me. But I think there's casting a vision for people that, like, yes, we love being on the trucks. We love going out there and doing it. But there's also, to really grow and scale, we have to step back and start working on the business, not in the business. So that's where a lot of my questions are coming from. But back to, what I originally asked, as far as like, is it networking or just, general business stuff?
Yeah, it's networking. It's, business stuff, whether we meet with bankers. I feel like I've had a lot of those lately because we're trying to, I'll meet with different guys on my team. Yesterday I got to meet with one of my guys. This wasn't a one-on-one, but actually me and this guy, we've done one-on-ones in the past, but we just actually met up at my office and we just walked around the parking lot for like an hour and just talked about life. Nice. I wish I got to do more of those. But so it's stuff like that. I'll meet with our marketing director about once a week. And then, I get to do other stuff, just kind of, the beauty of being a business owner is you do get to build your own schedule. So, like one of the things I do is I take my mom out for coffee every single week. So prioritizing my family relationships and, the most important relationships in my life is really important. So fortunately I get to do that somewhat on business time.
That's amazing. Yeah. Fit that in where it works. I love it. And I appreciate you laying that out, because it's a vision that I like, picking up. I originally named the title of this stream, and we had to restart, but success leaves clues. And I think, there's people in the group who are very receptive to some of the stuff you're dropping, and others who are like, oh, this is ridiculous. But anybody in business, who's gone further than we have, we should be listening to what they're doing. And so I appreciate you taking the time here to chat and to talk to people about this. I would like to dive more into the marketing side, because that's something that I'm passionate about and work on. What is your strategy going forward for marketing? Because I know that there's, it's a different conversation than someone who has just one truck, but I love to see the strategy people start putting into place when they grow and scale like this.
Yeah, sure. So I think where we start is what is our budget? So for us, we're spending 22% of our revenue on marketing. And the
That's
way
aggressive.
we come up with that number is we just look at whatever we did in revenue for the last month, and that's what our marketing budget is going to be for the current month.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll look at whatever we already kind of had on the books, and, if we need to add or subtract anything. Google's always going to take, the biggest chunk of that. Then we'll have kind of like some of the smaller stuff, like, paying our marketing director, doing our email campaigns. We do a lot of social media. But kind of to break it down. So Google Ads and SEO, that's kind of number one on the list. The number two thing we do is our referrals. Mm-hmm. So we look at every job as a sales and a marketing opportunity, because, obviously we're there to make that sale, but that person is also the gateway to all of their friends, neighbors, and connections who also need our service. So, every single job we do, we're offering them a discount to write us, some sort of social media post, recommendation on Nextdoor, Yelp review, whatever it may be that is easy for them, that continues to get our name out there. And if you look at just from a numbers side, like, you may be giving them a $15 to $20 discount. And, from a Google standpoint, like if you're getting a $60 acquisition cost, well, that's really good, at least in my area. So to give a $15, $20 discount to do a review or a post, like, is almost a no-brainer. So, turning jobs not only, from transactions to marketing experiences into marketing opportunities, that's a really big one. We're really experimenting a lot with social media. It's hard to track leads off social media in junk removal, but I am a big believer in that it really adds to your overall brand, just overall brand awareness. What I've also noticed is using my personal profile and my connections from like LinkedIn and Facebook, just to further, use the brand. So it's really my accounts and the business accounts working together. Mm-hmm. Another huge one is yard signs. Yard signs have been incredibly effective for us. We put them up everywhere, even when the code enforcement says not to. We've dealt with that plenty. But anyways, yard signs have been awesome. The thing with yard signs is they just create a lot of conversation about your business. So, the places you put out yard signs is the same places all your repeat clients live. So it's a great way to remind them of your business. And all the people who know and love you as a business owner are going to see that sign, and they're just going to be, excited to see that. And they're going to, be talking about it. So yard signs are awesome. The other thing we do is we put out a yard sign at every single job, whether it be in the front yard. And then if the client doesn't want us to, then, we put it maybe down the street at the front of the neighborhood or something. So that's a really good source. Let's see, what else do we do? We get a lot from just our trucks, people seeing them on the road. They're pretty easy to spot. Yeah, they're pretty easy to spot. But I think one of the biggest mistakes guys make in the junk industry is putting too much stuff on their trucks. So if you ever see one of our trucks, all you will see the logo, and it may or may not have a phone number and website. And you're like, what in the world? Why would you do that? And the reason is, if your company is named so-and-so junk removal or whatever junk removal, you've already told the client exactly what your service is. And chances are they're not going to remember your phone number. So they're going to Google you. So all that you need to stick in their mind is that name. So why not make that as bold and as big and as memorable as possible and not confuse them with all this, other random information. So, kind of my grunt test is I need to be able to stand across from one of these huge, massive, junctions. I'm not talking about intersections. I'm talking all the bridges, when a huge interstate collides, and I can see my truck at the other corner and I can see my logo and I can read it. So that's kind of my grunt test for it. Just so it's super visible, everybody driving down the road sees it. So we get a lot of business off of our trucks. We already touched on it, but get a lot of business from repeat clients. And then there's some other small stuff some commercial business, some realtor referrals and stuff like that. But Google repeat business referrals, those are the really big ones, and yard signs.
I love that. Yeah, Steve said me too when you were talking about the yard signs there. It's I think it's an underrated thing. Where do you get your yard signs from?
Signs.com. Got to order them in bulk, so we order 500 at a time. That will, that way we get them for I think around $350 a sign. Yep. We also learned that you don't need to order the full 18. I think it's 18 by 24 sign. We basically design the logo on Canva. Then we use as small of or as short of a sign as possible, which reduces cost. And we also don't get them double sided. So there's some creative things you can do to take it from a $4.25 sign to a $3.50 sign. If you order 500 of them, that's the difference in hundreds of dollars. And also signs.com does free shipping if it's over $75, and they've got a couple perks that are also making nice, but ordering in bulk is the biggest key.
Nice. I noticed you talked about efficiency a lot in the groups, as far as, growing this and making it all happen. And I really do want to encourage people, reach out to Joseph, especially if you're in the groups. I'll drop his link in the, in the podcast and everything, but he's offering an hour of his time to chat with you. Is it an hour or 30 minutes?
It can be either. So we've got it set up for both options.
Okay. Yeah. So you can jump on and actually, he'll walk through what you're specifically doing in your business, which coming from someone who's in the trenches, I think is invaluable. But let's talk a little bit about efficiency, and then we'll wrap up with, kind of a couple takeaways for people. And then I want to respect your time because we've got to hop off here, but let's chat a little bit about the efficiency side.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm sure this, looks different in a lot of different people's businesses, but I can tell you what we did. So, one of the things we did for a while that was actually hurting us is we were scheduling more guys than we needed. And it was really a reaction to the problem of, hiring a bunch of new guys at once, and we would have guys no show and stuff like that. So, if we needed 8 guys, we would probably we would schedule 10 for, 1 or 2 no shows. Yeah. Which at the time, honestly, was probably the best reaction to the problem that we had. But inevitably, it started jacking up our payroll cost month over month. And payroll is our biggest expense. So we got to be super, super careful and diligent to monitor that. So we started, just scheduling the amount of guys we need. And since we have such a great team right now, not having guys show up just isn't as big of a problem as it was before. Doing things like monitoring overtime. Overtime can be a killer. So, if my guys earn overtime, I'm happy for them. But we're also not going to intentionally schedule a guy to where he's going to get a ton of overtime, because that just really jacks up our payroll rate, and it gets them tired. It wears their bodies out. Yeah. Doing things like, making sure we understand which landfills have the best rates. I learned this the hard way with waste management. We have a bunch of different waste management transfer stations, and believe it or not, they all charge different prices, and they all have these darn fees that they add on. And I learned some of them are just straight flat rates, $5, and some are percentage rates. So we really did a deep dive on all our landfills and made sure we were going to the ones that actually charged the least, when our routing would allow. Another thing we did is just made sure we always go to landfill with a full truck, not going with half trucks, not going with 3/4 trucks, but always go with a full truck. Another thing we started doing was, just doing a lot of recycling. We've been making a couple $100 a week off of just, pulling stuff out of the trucks and taking it to the recycling center. So those are kind of some areas that just stick out. Also, I think with marketing, at least for us, marketing is our second biggest expense after payroll. So just really being, careful to make sure our marketing is actually working. We don't ever want to cut it off too soon. So, we would never stop a marketing source, until we had it running for at least 12 weeks to know if it works. But if it doesn't work, by golly, like let's make sure to cut it off. And the key to that is just tracking it. So and when I say tracking it, not just gauging how many times the phone rang, but looking at okay, how many times did it ring from this source, and how many jobs do we get? What was the job average and cancellation rate for this lead source, and then deciding if that's something we want to pursue. So that's kind of a bunch of stuff that we try to become more efficient with.
Yeah, you dropped some nuggets in there, and I think all of it comes down to numbers. Payroll, overtime, marketing. Look at specifically what you're spending versus what you're getting out, and how you can become more efficient. That's key. But you made an important point on the marketing that stood out to me because I'm in that world. But letting it run. And then doing a good side by side test. Obviously, if it's falling flat on its face, you're gonna cut that off pretty soon. But that's a key thing. That a lot of business owners, it's very emotional. It's like, oh, my phone's ringing a lot. It must be working, or my phone's not ringing, must not be working. But if you can look at where they're coming from, where the sources are, because yard signs are a big deal. That your trucks are a big deal. You kind of know where each of those things come from. And I guess as a follow up to that, I never asked it earlier, but how do you know where the calls come from your trucks? Because that's something that I see a lot of people not track where their calls come from.
Yeah, so we've got tracking numbers set up for pretty much everything. That's one way we look at everything. Other thing we do is every single job that comes in, we're asking them, how did they hear about us? Uh-huh. So, I can pull up on our Worky scheduling app and see like what are the percentages for this week and whatever block of time I want to see, where do all those jobs come from. Is it absolutely perfectly accurate? No, but it's accurate nine times out of 10, probably even more than that. So it gives us all we need to understand our business.
That's huge. Well, Joseph, this has been a pleasure. I appreciate you bearing with me through the technical difficulties there, and we'll get it all sorted out in post production. But appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you sharing your knowledge. I love watching people really do well in the game of business, and that's what it is. It's playing your chess pieces right. If you were to start again, I'll kind of end with this. If you were to start again from nothing, what would be the couple biggest things that you would look at and make sure that you did to ensure success?
If I were to start over, I think using a service like JRA, your Junk Removal Authority, they're a really good one that I would recommend. There's a couple other ones out there that are good. I'm a big believer in let experts do what experts need to do. An expert needs to be running Google Ads, and I'm not a Google Ads expert. So find some really good people that can do that type of stuff. Also, I think trying to build a brand that has that local charm to it, but also is modeled after the big name brands. So using clean new trucks that look professional, uniformed employees. All that kind of stuff. I think was stuff I wish I had done sooner. But then again, I look back and I don't have any regrets because every lesson and failure along the way was a learning opportunity, and sure. I certainly would not want to forego all those.
Absolutely. Well, this has been fun, man. I appreciate it, and I think we'll definitely do a round 2 here. I appreciate everyone who tuned in when we were live on Facebook and YouTube, and Joseph. Any parting words? I guess I kind of left you with a parting thing there, but anything you want to say of how people can get in touch with you, where they can find you, how they can support the mission?
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking about just life and junk removal and all that kind of stuff. So would love to chat with anybody on the phone who's interested. I know Lewis, you said you dropped the link.
Yeah, I will.
But yeah, feel free to reach out anytime. Be happy to talk. And it's just, something that I love in my heart, just talking to guys. So I enjoy it. Hopefully you can learn something from me, and I definitely will learn something from you.
That's amazing. Well, guys, that's it for today. Tune into the next one. And Joseph, once again, really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, you bet, man. It was awesome.